is home to many unique and lively neighborhoods. St. Matthews, the Highlands, and Fern Creek are just some that come to mind. One that doesn't come to mind is the Two. The past few years in this neighborhood have been plagued by a recession that has caused many residents to leave. The residents that do live there, mostly low-income families, live in small apartments that line the beaten-up streets of the Two. The local basketball team, the 502 Tropics, used to be a hallmark of the Two. Now it receives so little support from most of the residents that it is considering a move to Seattle or selling the team entirely. While the future of the Two doesn't seem very bright, the residents cautiously remain hopeful for the future. If hard work is what it takes to help the Two, Donnie Cole is on the right path. Donnie was one of the smartest in his class but couldn't afford to go to college due to the current recession. However, he has been living with his parents while studying on his own and working 2 jobs in hopes of one day achieving success.
Hello, my name is Donnie Cole. I'm a 19-year-old guy who lives in the neighborhood of the Two. It is a pretty underdeveloped neighborhood. It is only apartments and a basketball court. That's it. The apartments are small and cramped together, so you can hear everything going on in your neighbor's place. I don't understand or like the name. Probably never will. My family used to live in an elegant neighborhood. It had a pond, a golf course, and a basketball court, but we had to move to a small and cheaper apartment. I miss our old neighbors, like the Buscemi's and the Goodmans. They were easy to talk to because of how friendly they were. Now our neighbors aren't so friendly. I like to think I'm smart, and I guess I would be what is considered a nerd, but I'm honest about it. I'm not a complete nerd, however. I like sports, especially basketball. But I was never good at it. I was an excellent student in high school, but due to the recession, I couldn't afford college. Plus, my mother got laid off from the pharmaceutical company she worked at, so I had to help support my family. My dad works as a lawyer, so luckily that makes a decent income due to the high crime rates as of late, such as theft, but it still isn't enough on its own. To help out, I work 2 terrible jobs. From 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, I work at a Foot Locker, and from 5 to 11, I work as a waiter in a failing O'Charlie's. It is awful working at Foot Locker. I mean, you have to come in every day and smell everyone's feet. Due to the recession, not many people go out to eat, but the owner of the O'Charlie's insists that we stay open. He continues to pay us, so I haven't put in my 2 cents on why we should close down. He continues to say that, "Soon, Donnie, soon, I tell ya, this place will be booming in no time." He's delusional. But I managed to form a fake smile and agree with him. It's nice to see a sense of hope in such an awful time. I really can't complain about how terrible my jobs are, since some people can't find a single one. Now, yeah, I probably should be in bed, but this is where I guess why I consider myself a nerd. Before I found out I couldn't afford college, I wanted to go into software engineering. I love developing new software. It was what I did in my spare time during high school, other than read. Luckily, I was able to keep my laptop out of everything we sold away to make money. On there, I have plenty of software that I have developed, but this one I've been working on I believe will be worth millions. I guess this software is my little glimpse of hope that the owner of O'Charlie's has. Anyways, the software deals with investing. I can't give you all the details about it because, well, I don't need anyone stealing it, and it isn't quite finished yet. I just have a few minor touches to make, and I swear it'll be a gold mine. I hope that one day I can return the glory that was only a few years ago and get my parents back on their feet. I want them to be happy and live lives in retirement. Once I finish the software, I will present it to big name companies. I don't know what I'll do with the leftover money. I always wanted to own a sports team. That would probably be a good investment. Well, before I can think of that, I need to finish the software.
Another ambitious resident is Norman Lee. Norman is currently a senior in high school. He plans on going to community college next year to study business administration, but has plans for much bigger things after that.
My name is Norman. Norman Lee, that is, not Bates. Sorry, it's just an inside joke between me and my parents. They named me after some movie character from this movie called Psycho. I don't know what was so special about it, but they just felt so compelled to name their only son after him. So now that you got the backstory of how I got my name, might as well tell you a little bit more about my life. I haven't always had it so great. My neighborhood has been known as this poor part of town, and everyone thinks it's really sketchy. But it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. I'd say my family is more towards the low-income side of the scale. I've been lucky enough to attend a Catholic school for my entire life. I've enjoyed my time in these schools, and the people I've met have just been great. I'm currently a senior here at Trinity High School, and I graduate from here in May. And right now I'm kind of stuck in the middle of wanting to leave Trinity and then just wanting to get to college already. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do next year, but I know that I want to make something out of myself so that I can pay back to my parents everything they've given up for me. So, like I mentioned earlier, my neighborhood is known as the Two. It sounds like a weird name, but let me explain. So there was this really famous rapper back when the neighborhood was just starting out and it was more economically stable. And he just started calling the place the Two because, you know, some neighborhoods are known as their full area code. Like for us, it's 502. But he just started calling it the Two, I guess because he wanted to be different. But some people think it's stupid, but I think it's kind of unique. So next year, I really want to go to college. And it's definitely the biggest goal I've set for myself in life so far. And my grades have been pretty good every year. I got a good ACT score this year, at least good enough to, you know, get into college and get me a little bit of financial assistance. But unfortunately, as of right now, I think that my only option is JCC. And everyone jokes about going to JCC, but I'll take the opportunity. You know, I'll take whatever I can get. Eventually, I want to go to a four-year school. But as far as right now, going to a school here in town would be good because it would save me some money on, you know, room and board because I could just live right here in the Two. But eventually I want to, you know, study business, get a four-year degree, maybe go to grad school. My Uncle Anthony works at Harvard as an admissions officer, so you'd think he could pull some strings to, you know, get me into Harvard, but he's not really on great terms with our family right now. I don't know the whole story, but I know him and my dad haven't really spoken in a while. My dream job would be to own my own business and live in New York City. I don't know why New York City, I just think I'd be living the dream out there. I'm really into sports and I love watching them and playing them at the park with my friends when I get a chance. So, you know, maybe my business in New York City will have something to do with sports one day. Maybe I'll even work with the Yankees or the Knicks. So one of my closest friends here in the Two is Jimmer Scalabrini. And his name makes him kind of sound like he's a weird guy, but he's really cool and he's a really good basketball player. You could say I'm kind of like his manager because I actually helped him out over the summer when he was putting together his highlight tape. And we sent it out to a few different schools that were looking at him, trying to offer him. So I really hope he gets into a good school next year to play basketball because I know he really wants to make it to the NBA one day, and he's definitely talented enough. I'm just glad I've been able to help him out so far.
Jimmer Scalabrini is really good at basketball. Some would say that he is a prodigy. As a freshman in high school, he is better than anybody at his school, and he knows this. He is exceedingly confident in his athletic ability and already has plans for the pros. Jimmer has a lot of natural ability and practices every day. He is very well known throughout his school, and most people think of Jimmer Scalabrini when they think of basketball around here.
Hey, I'm Jimmer Scalabrini, and welcome to the Two. If you think you recognize my name, that's because you probably do. My dad is NBA legend Brian Scalabrini. Unfortunately, he's become more well known for his financial troubles than his NBA career. After making millions in the NBA, my father was able to move us into the most affluent neighborhood in Kentucky. However, he became frivolous with his investments, and when the stock market crashed, we lost almost all of our money. We had to sell our house to pay off debt and move here, the Two. That's not its actual name, but everyone calls it that because of the area code, 502. The Two is considered to be the slums of the city, so it's been really hard living in our current condition, especially after being so spoiled growing up. However, I think living like this has motivated me. It has given me more drive to stick with basketball and hopefully make it to the NBA one day. I always knew I would have my dad's shadow over me as long as I was playing basketball, but I thought it would be for his illustrious NBA career and not his economic blunders. I want to get to the NBA to restore the Scalabrini name and make money so my kids can have the privileged childhood I used to have. Seems like there's no motivation in this neighborhood. Before all of this, in my old neighborhood, it was full of kids who set goals that people told them were unattainable, but they still pursued them. Nowadays, it seems like I'm the only one with any passion. Well, except my friend Norman. Norman is kind of like my agent, even though I'm only 16. He goes to my games, films me, compiles the highlights, and even sends them to colleges. I think life in the Two would be a lot harder without Norman. Everyone else in the neighborhood blames their laziness on their economic situation, and it would be easy for me to get sucked into that. But Norman has the same passion I do. He doesn't want to live like this for the rest of his life, and it's good to know you have someone there to help you stay focused. When we lost all of our money, my dad had to sell my TV and Xbox, so I don't really have anything to do at my house. When I'm not in school, I spend all my time here, playing basketball. If the weather is bad, I usually go to the library and watch basketball highlights, then try to recreate the moves when the weather gets better. Making it to the NBA takes a lot of work, and I did spend much of my time playing basketball before all of this, but actually having the distractions taken away from me has increased my motivation for basketball, and I don't think I would have the same work ethic if I still had electronics that gave me the opportunity to be lazy and not get bored. Many people think it must have been horrible having such a dramatic life change, but I think it's really ended up being a net positive, and I think that's going to show in the future.
The two is a very different place 25 years later. The recession that plagued the neighborhood for many years has been replaced with a very significant financial boom. The small apartments that lined the streets years before have for the most part been replaced with large houses. All of this good fortune is due largely to a piece of investment software that spurred economic growth within the two. This software helped the residents get out of the recession and reinvigorated the neighborhood as a whole. In fact, the local basketball team, the 502 Tropics, ended up staying in Louisville partially due to the reinvigorated neighborhood. It was a good move too. The team has been extremely successful the past few years. This success also helped contribute to the economic growth of the two. Who does the two have to thank for all this good fortune? One man, Donnie Cole. Donnie Cole has essentially saved the two single-handedly. It was his piece of software that caused the initial economic boom for the two. Without his software, the two would be in the exact same state it was 25 years ago, if not worse.
Hello, my name is Donnie Cole, and this is the story of how I started from the bottom and ended up here. 25 years ago, I was a modest student. I worked and studied tirelessly with the hope that I'd one day get to live the American dream and go off to college and pay off my student loans on time and all that fun stuff, but sadly, this just wasn't the case for me. The market dipped off on over-investments in high-risk but mediocre reward properties did not pay off. The population just simply didn't have enough money to develop the land and renovate it to what they wanted it to be. I don't like to think of it this way, but many people tell me that I'm the reason this area has been able to emerge up on top after the recession. The two jobs I worked while in high school ended up not being enough to pay for school, so I was kind of out of luck. Out in the woods, nowhere to go, but just when I thought all hope was lost, I got the idea for a new investing strategy. Through countless hours spent in front of my computer screen learning the keys to investing and writing code, I was able to invent a new software that revolutionized even the greatest minds in how they approach investing. Now that you all know who I am, let me tell you all what I spend most of my days doing. You know that software I was talking about? Well, it made me sort of wealthy. I sold the code off to Goldman Sachs for $100 billion, with a B. So I had all that money and had no idea what I wanted to do with it. I was driving around town one day when I saw a couple of the local youths sporting some 502 Tropics gear, and this just got me a little curious. Later that day, I returned to my humble abode I have here, and I started to do some research into who the 502 Tropics were, and I found out they were a local professional basketball team. The team had been doing so well for the past 10 years, and the owner, Sterling Deniveris, had been looking to sell the team. I had all that money and nothing really to do with it, so I decided I'd buy the team. I bought it for $18.9 billion, with a B. Needless to say, it's been a ton of fun. What's up, man?
Not much.
Over there, that was just Norman Lee. He's Jimmer Scalabrini, the star player's agent. They've been friends since like childhood or something. They've known each other so long. They grew up in the same area, and without these two men helping me, I honestly don't know where I'd be. They're always around me to give me constant advice about the organization, player acquisitions. Without these two men, I don't think we'd be a successful basketball team as we are. Like, honestly, typically the three of us spend our days just hanging out in the 502 Tropics Arena at Balls Life Central. Who knows? And really, we've just been extra busy lately preparing for the upcoming season. We're trying to go for our 3rd championship in a row and our 5th since I've become the owner of the team. And I think that'd just be really cool if we were able to pull that off. I've worked so hard and so long for what I have. I've made a life for myself. A life for myself and a life for my parents. Something that I can be proud of. I was able to let them retire as soon as I sold my software, and I do not regret this one bit. 25 years ago, my goal was to one day return to the glory that this neighborhood once experienced. Help my parents be happy and enjoy retirement, and I've accomplished this, and nothing could make me happier. Thank you.
The ambitious high school senior we met 25 years ago, Norman Lee, has also been very successful in his life. After years of hard work, Norman became a sports agent for the best athlete in history. His ambition, drive, and people skills led him to a life of good fortune along with the rest of the two.
Oh, hey there. Here it is, my life's work. All in front of me, Norman Lee. It's a mess, man, isn't it? Season after season of keeping up with the king in the game. Yeah, even before Uncle Anthony got me into Harvard, me and Scalabrine have been a team. I've always been his agent, as they say, since he was playing high school ball. It's worked well, too. Growing up with him in the two, man, I always knew he was going to be something special. But me, I never saw myself getting past community college. But here I am with more than enough money. I don't even know what to do with it, man. It's crazy how one day you're living paycheck by paycheck and the next you're wiping your hands with them. Man, I miss those days when the only worry in the world was, getting by with what you had. But now it's like people always want more. Nice cars, big houses, fancy clothes. Good just isn't good enough now. I guess that's what a boom will do to a neighborhood. Man, me and Scalabrini used to live in apartments. Now you can buy us a $500,000 house. Man, it's changed, yes, but I can't go anywhere else, man. It's my home. Coming back here after Harvard, I still can't get over that I got in there. I ran into Donnie Cole out of the blue at one of the Tropics games here in town. Man, we clicked like that. We only lived about 2 blocks away from each other when we were kids, and that right there sealed the deal. He kept talking about his player. He went on this team. Who'd have thought that he wanted Jimmer Scalabrini back in his hometown? Man, he couldn't believe that I was with him from the start. Once the draft hit and they got Scalabrini, Donnie called me up and said, I was his agent. After all these years, man, we were back at it. Greatest years of my life. A couple years later, me and my wife got married. Sure enough, she is a huge, huge Scalabrini fan. It took me 3 tries before I could bring him home and introduce him to her. She's like, sign my 500 posters. Take 1,000,000 pictures with me. Shut up, woman. I almost had to let one of them go. Not sure which one I like more. Oh, we're all good now. It's been, 14 years? They say the time flies when you're having fun. Well, it's true. It seems like last week I had my first day as Scalabrini's official agent, and now it's almost my last. I tell you, life's a mess, man. Like these papers here. Oh, I forgot to tell you how my wife made me shave my beard and cut my hair. Man, you would never believe it. Back in the day, I had what the kids called a Jufro and a chin strap. I was like a gorilla. It was awesome, man. But no, after we were married, she told me that it would look better and more official if I was hairless and looked like I was 12. But I've gotten used to it, man. Maybe one day I'll grow a beard when the season's over. Anyways, man, after this season, I just don't know where I'll be. My life couldn't have gone any better than it has already. All I can do is hope for the best and not another recession, or else I might have to be washing dishes for the rest of my life again. That would suck, man. Back in the day, when I would complain to my mom about washing dishes, she would always tell me, it builds character. Well, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that phrase, no one even cares about character anymore. All they care about is how many characters they have in their salary. But like I said, man, today's a different time. I was driving around the other day, man, trying to remember all the farmland and open fields that used to be here. It's hard to believe the past even existed with what it looked like now. That boom modernized us hard, but it's beginning to work for the better. Oh man, look at the time. I gotta get to a meeting.
Jimmer Scalabrini is still really good at basketball. Most people say he is the best of all time. However, like all great athletes, age is unavoidable. At 40 years old, Jimmer has decided that this season will be his last in the NBA. The people of the two and the rest of Louisville will miss the success he brought to the 502 Tropics.
It's been quite some time since I've walked these streets. Unlike a basketball game, there's no time restraint on life itself. It seems as though, as this neighborhood has gotten older, it's gotten better. What I would give for my basketball career to be the same, just to keep going and only get better. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm the best basketball player of all time. Ever since I became the NBA all-time scoring champion, I felt a call back to my hometown, back to the place that made me capable of all my achievements in the NBA. But it's strange because this neighborhood's not how I left it. This neighborhood used to be in poverty, and now it just looks like a bunch of mansions. It's funny, these kids probably feel no urgency to be successful anymore because they already have everything. When I was a kid, I wasn't spoon-fed like these kids. Basketball was the only way I knew that I could get a better life. It was the only solace that I had, and I practiced every day and night. These courts right here used to be my home. When I started to be recruited, this neighborhood sort of rose up with me, like a phoenix from the ashes. My favorite movie growing up was Cinderella Man. I find it quite amazing how close to that story my own is. I remember walking down the streets after winning the state championship my senior year, and people yelling out the window, "Way to go, champ." People had more confidence in me than I did in myself. I was an idol to them, a gleaming model of success that contrasted with their reckless abandon and their lethargic carelessness. What really gave me the impetus to practice every day and aspire to be in the NBA was not just my hopeful ambition, but their support. The neighborhood now really isn't like it used to be in that sense either. While it may be wealthier, I get the general feeling of an aura of entitlement. There's no need for hope in an enigma like a Cinderella Man because life is already within reach. These kids here on the basketball courts lack drive, initiative, and urgency. Most kids are more interested in copying a pair of new sneakers than actually going and playing basketball. Honestly, if not for my dad's poor investments and the housing market collapse of '08, I probably never would have worked myself to exhaustion. I would have never pursued basketball with the vigor I needed in order to be successful. Nowadays, I think the lack of adversity these kids have to deal with, the general sense of entitlement, and the unsupportive mindset of the people in the neighborhood make it nearly impossible to have an urgent necessity to be successful. Money seems to cause such complacency, and adversity and ambition are essentials when growing up in order to be successful and work hard. Otherwise, there would be no motivation. I've always felt you should never forget where you're from, so I came back here to start basketball charity runs. Now that I see the neighborhood again, I don't think I can do that because it's way too rich. The old neighborhood, while plagued with poverty and drugs, was still a hopeful and familial community. People cheered for one another to succeed. There may have been more success if not for the drug-induced stupor. My basketball team, my manager, and all my friends cheered me on every night. It didn't matter if only one person succeeded because that meant that we all could. This seems to be the opposite mindset of the neighborhood now. People cheer against one another in an unfriendly competition. I think the neighborhood has changed superficially for the better, meaning it's gotten wealthier and everybody from the outside can see its affluence. But I think that a negative impact lurks in the shadows. Ambition has been lost. Success is a double-edged sword, one side sharp with aspiration and the other dulled with complacency.
Do I go?
Yes, that's what action
Oh,
is.
you said like
Action.
Are you sure?
Alright, action.
now.
I tell you, life's a mess, man. Like these papers here. You would never believe it, man. Back in the day, I had what the kids called a Jew throw.
All I can think about is Tucker right now.
Back in the day, I had what the kids called a Jew throw and a chin strap. Oh, like a gorilla.
This is gonna take a while.
Back in the day, I had what the kids called a Jew throw. It's gonna take some.
hours later.